In 1891, the Qing dynasty imperial Chinese government decided to make a small coastal town in the Shandong province a defense base against naval attack. Imperial German naval officials observed and reported on this activity of the Chinese during a formal survey of Xiaozhou Bay in May 1897. They pretty much immediately then seized and occupied the fortification. While the Germans' taste for beer was not to be quenched just because of their occupation of a, at the time, non-beer drinking country in China, so they founded an Anglo-German Brewery Company Limited, founded a brewery called the Tsingtao Brewery. This was a joint stock company based in Hong Kong who owned it then until 1916. In August 16th of that year, an extraordinary general meeting was held in Shanghai. Liquidators were appointed, and it was decided the brewery would be sold to Dai Nippon Brewery, which in 1949 was split into Asahi Breweries and what later became Sapporo Brewery. These are Japanese companies. The Japanese military administration in Tsingtao approved the liquidation on September 9th, 1916. German equity at the time was approximately 70%. After Japan's surrender, however, to the Allies and its retreat from China, the Tsingtao Brewery was turned into a Chinese brewery under ownership of the Su family and supervision of the nationalist government in Nanjing. However, the period only lasted until 1949 when, after a civil war, China was founded. The company was then privatized later in the 1990s, and in 1993 merged with 3 other breweries, and our old friends got their thumbs in the pie a bit. Anheuser-Busch then owned 27% of the company. The company once owned several other breweries in China, some of which also produced Tsingtao beer. However, in 2009, Anheuser-Busch InBev announced it was selling to Asahi, which made Asahi the second largest brewery behind only the Tsingtao Brewery Group of the beer. But in 2009, InBev and Asahi all sold their stake to Chinese tycoon Xin Fashu for $235 million. This Chinese beer was brought to us by our very special, very returning guest. And on the show, he's going to tell about his travels to this wonderful coastal city as we all enjoy a Tsingtao beer. Back, Nick.
You're back. Speaking of guests, you feel like a guest in my home with how long you've been out of Seattle, traveling boy.
I've been out for 5 days, and before we introduce our guest...
And it's like I've never seen you.
Well, hey, then cheers to all 3 of us. Cheers. Yeah, I was in my pilgrimage, and I gotta say, before we introduce the guest, before we talk about this beer, before we talk about how I fucked up that open, I wanted to talk to you. I got a couple gripes right at the top of the show.
Okay, right off the top.
About last week's episode with your brother.
Jumping in with dripes.
I got some dripes. The first thing is the music was unacceptable.
It was bad.
Can you explain what happened? I'm assuming cell phone near the mic.
All I did was just play it off my cell phone. Did it one take, one hot take. Unlike that intro that we just had to sit through.
That thing, believe it or not, folks, was edited together. All right.
It sounded like shit. Yeah,
it was
I should have
brutal.
edited it back in.
It's okay. It's fine. We half-assed this operation. And the only other second thing is your little jab at me, bucko.
Yeah, that's
hey,
right.
It's a podcast. Let's go back and forth a little bit. You don't have to sit back.
I want to let your stories breathe, Joe.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
They deserve that much.
The quality that they deserve.
Yes.
All right. Well, those are my gripes. And my pilgrimage home went well. My parents actually auctioned off literally every possession to their name.
From your childhood home, correct?
Yes, they auctioned off the property, the house, all the buildings on the property, my dad's business, and literally everything that they owned, all in one day. It was like the most nerve-wracking fucking thing.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, to be at. But they're very happy, and they're going to buy an RV, and they're just going to cruise around the country for the next, however many years, find a place to settle down. Yeah, they're happy. So I'm happy for them.
What's the odds-on favorite open up here for city to settle down in?
I would say somewhere in Arizona.
Okay.
But a dark horse might be Austin, Texas, because I've been talking it up a lot. They're going to go to the south. They want to be somewhere warm. They're retired. This is all they got to do is sit back, drink Tsingtao beers.
You got to stop saying it like that.
No, I'm gonna keep saying it like that. I can do what I damn well please. And you know what else?
Oh, boy.
Before we introduce our guest, and we're going to introduce him, I just want to say your grandfather hanging out at the auction.
He's a wheeler dealer.
He was a wheeler and he was a dealer. He bought a couple of $1 pallets that were filled with, let's just say, treasures. Let's say treasures.
Childhood treasures of yours?
Yes, he bought them cheap. He did buy my parents' family's couch, our living room couch, for many years, now owned by him.
Are you going to tell me what's happened on that couch? Is that where this is headed?
It's a family podcast. I think we need to, with that segue, introduce our guest today. Returning guest to the show, good friend at Brooks Erickson joins us. Brooks, how you doing? Cheers. Again.
Cheers.
Thanks for bringing in this beer. You brought it, you said you were at this place in China. Can you tell us about that? Why were you there?
First of all, I just wanted to say it's great to be back in the studio. It's great to be back in Seattle. Since the last time I was on the pod, I've made a move down to Portland, Oregon.
That's right.
Fundamental shift in culture down to
Seattle's
Portland,
best
Oregon.
neighborhood,
Yeah.
as it's called sometimes.
But it's good to be back in the studio.
Good to have you back in the studio.
Yeah, thank you.
Damn
Thank
well
you.
is.
Yeah, I've been, annoying you guys on Twitter for, I don't know, months now.
No,
There was a certain escapade that...
what now?
No, we don't.
Let's get into it. Are we gonna talk about the Tecate Syndicate? Is that where you're going with this? Because the last time you were on the show, astute listeners will know you brought Tecate in.
No, I don't think that's one thing that we need to address here.
Your
is
hatred for domestic American beers?
No, actually, it's your frequent hate for Tecate ever since that we did the ranking for it. But I don't think that's the most pressing issue.
Okay.
Where the hell is Brian?
No,
This
okay.
is
Hey.
insane.
We
Now,
said no questions.
I was going to say, you brought him in here, and I was told there were going to be any questions about Brian.
I had him sign the receipt of my lunch at Chipotle, and he said that would stand in for not asking about Brian.
Those are long receipts. You got to have a big signature.
I get extra guac. I get extra meat. I get extra
You understand, sir? That's going to be 25 cents. And then Nick puts
And I
up a
never
stink
pay him.
anyway. Yeah.
I call the manager out. It takes a half hour, and I never pay him.
Well, let's just cruise past that. Let's
Yeah,
not
we're
worry
all just
about
joking
that.
around
It-
here.
It was a funny bit. It was a joke. Don't go into the bathroom near the studio. Everything's fine. By the way, your brother said the episode that was
That
not supposed to be
shan't be
released.
named.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
well,
said.
again, we will prosecute if anybody's listening to. Delete it off your phones.
Yeah. Go into the downloads on your phone.
And delete it.
Hit delete button.
If we could figure out how to take it off the iTunes,
Feed,
we
the
would.
Feed.
Your brother said he didn't like it.
Did he say he didn't
Yeah,
like
he can go to hell for that. You hear me, Z Patry? Go to hell.
it? Who did like it? We know of one person who liked it.
Yeah, our good buddy at Gamby Pamby liked it.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah. Who else liked it?
Superfan Kelsey also liked it.
So
in
Superfans
Madison,
liked it.
Wisconsin.
Superfan Brooks?
Hey, I enjoyed it. I like to see a little creative direction from
Thank
the
you.
studio.
Well, thanks, man.
And then let's just move past the fact that we killed and murdered this real person.
Yeah. R.I.P. Brian.
R.I.P. But I have no segue to get into the beer.
Rest in porcelain.
Pretty good.
So we're talking about the brewery.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, sure. Let's
Tsingtao.
talk about the brewery. We'll edit all that out. Tsingtao Brewery. You said you were here. What the hell were you doing there?
Oh, so I think I mentioned this on the last time I was on the pod. I have done some work with one of my clients was the U.S. hop industry. I've worked with agriculture in the past, and helping the U.S. hop industry export their product to different places around the world. One of those places being the China market. And while we had like more of our focus was on craft brewers there and marketing U.S. hops towards that burgeoning craft brewing scene there. It's hard to ignore some of these big guys that have traditionally bought a lot of U.S. hops in the past.
Right.
The Tsingtao Brewery is out in the city of Tsingtao, which goes by a different spelling.
Yeah, the spelling is Qingdao. But the spelling of the beer, Tising. Sorry, Tsingtao. Do you know why they do that?
I think that just over the years, it's similar to like in Korea and in Japan, when people have gone to anglicize some of their language over the years, different systems have been put in place, and so during some periods of time, the TS is maybe more popular than the Q. Certain times they adopted the Q.
So the TS is just more phonetically appealing to the Western palate.
I think they're trying to get people to use the same what the real pronunciation is in Chinese, and certain scholars have thought that maybe the TS sounds better than the Q. Or,
okay.
That's my understanding of it, but I'm not.
Don't they have Sesame Street over there?
Jeez,
or we can all agree on a pronunciation? They teach us. That's all I had from that whole segment.
It's okay. It's okay. But the question is, you said the city is changing its name. Does the beer ever change its name? Or did the beer lock on one spelling and just say, fuck it, we're not going?
Yeah, it seems like the beer locked on one spelling there. Well, I mean, originally, I think you covered it in the beginning, the brewery has gone by a number of different names in the past. I don't know when the city... I mean... Let's be clear here. The city's names are not in English.
Well, yeah. Okay. Right. So when you're over there,
it's going to be the same characters over the years.
Sure. So it's just purely like how they phoneticize it. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. And you said the city was pretty. I'm looking at some pictures of it. It is beautiful.
Yeah, and I got some pictures from the city that I was just looking at before I came here to kind of remind myself.
Let's get those on the gram.
Being at the brewery. But I mean, I can't share this with the listeners at home. But I mean, beautiful beaches.
Oh yeah.
It's breezy. I mean, it's like a major Chinese city. It's when you're in the middle of it, it's imposing and hot and busy and everything like that. But this one does actually have some like beautiful coastline, and the brewery that has been there for a long time is really kind of like a staple in the middle of the city. And some of the original buildings that you can see when you go on like the Wikipedia page and stuff like that are still there, and they've just kind of built onto them. And you see big brewing tanks on top of some of these old buildings, and you can actually tour around through there, and you get a chance to see they're actually growing some hops on the premise. You get to kind of go through and see where like all of their ingredients are. They've had sponsorship deals in various professional sports throughout the past, including the NBA. And overall, they've just done a huge amount of exporting. I think they've done it since like the middle of the 20th century. And so they've had a connection, like outside of China to every part of the world for quite a long time. And I think it's their number one most exported beer from China as far as
it's a behemoth. It makes a ton of money.
Now, speaking of pictures, how are you going to explain this one you sent me?
Yeah, we'll post this on social media.
This is on your Instagram, and it's a Tsingtao beer label, and then you're standing there in a suit and sunglasses on the label.
Yes, you're imprinted onto the label.
That's just photoshopped on there, or what's going on here?
Basically, I wish that this actually was appearing in like Chinese restaurants around the world.
I was so happy. I thought it was.
But basically, at the end of like some of the big tours there, or like the specialized tours, they'll take you into a room and like they'll let you take a picture like with a backdrop, and then they throw it on the label for you. Let you take a couple at home.
Nice. Oh, that's cool. I was so hoping that there was like some weird limited release where you posed as like this Western actor for Tsingtao. Yes.
Cool Americans prefer Tsingtao, and it's Brooks on there.
Well, if you go to their fucking website,
there's some cool Americans on there.
Yeah, their Western website at tsingtaobeer.com, the first thing that if you try to go to it, it's not secure. Chrome will stop you. You have to go into advanced settings to be able to get into this website.
Oh, mama.
Because the communist bloc likes to watch, and they're watching out my webcam. It's why I put a piece of masking tape in
Do you
front.
have one over there now?
No, I don't.
I remember we talked about that at one point.
No, I don't believe that people are watching me. Who do you think is watching? Do you think it's hackers or do you think it's the NSA?
I think it's my mom.
Wow, that's fair.
My mom learned how to hack so she could
specifically
spy
to
on
watch you with no shirt on sit down at 2:30 in the morning, just illuminated by the
Come
monitor.
on, no. No, I don't know. Why have it just exposed all the time, you know?
Why not? What are you worried about? Everybody has everything. They've stolen your identity.
No,
it's on the market.
I know, and there's no reason to think someone would be watching my specific webcam feed. I'm not that special.
Yeah, I know.
But on the off chance someone's going to use it to like blackmail you for something someday, you know?
But it's purely visual you're worried about. You're not covering up the microphone. You're not sticking a bunch of cotton into like the,
Aren't I?
the microphone port.
I've poured so much mac and cheese down the microphone port of my computer. There's no way they can hear anything.
Yeah, inadvertently, the NSA can't touch you. Anyway, so you get into the website. Yeah, there's some Western imagery here. We have a guy, two guys surrounding a couple of women, white women, all cheersing Tsingtao. They all have certain characteristics to them. Let's just say this Chinese company believes that what Americans need to see are very fit, very virile men and women who display characteristics of childbearing nature. Yeah, let's just say. So the website's like almost like it would be on like a billboard of a shitty, schlocky, faux luxury apartment building, and it would say, "Come live here." Like everybody's hot here.
Reach your peak here.
Yes, that's the imagery, and it's insinuating that you get a little boner. Anyway, I don't know how we got on this. I think it's because we were talking about
family
this.
podcast, folks.
Yeah, it's a family show. We were talking about this, and you brought up because we were saying we don't exactly know how to say it, and Nick belittled me for saying it as I do. It's like I say Barcelona. I say Tsingtao. It's Tsingtao, right? Tsingtao.
Yeah, you weren't screwing up the pronunciation of Tsingtao. You're screwing up the Shandong province like multiple times. But
yeah.
The Tsingtao, we got the lesson right here from the marketing.
Yeah, so there's a marketing page on QingdaoBeer.com that says it's a poster that they created, and it's because of what you brought up, Brooks, earlier, which is that it's exported to more than 90 countries and regions, including U.S., Japan, Germany, France, UK, Italy, and Canada. And they brought up a marketing campaign that says, "Consider this your first lesson in Chinese. Just say," and then it's pronounced Qing-Dao. So it's teaching you how to familiarize with this so you're not afraid of it when you go into the grocery store.
Yeah.
And you go, "This is normal. It's okay for me to
Yes,
drink
I don't have to throw this on the floor.
Yeah, yes, in anger.
I was just giving you crap because if you were saying it how you think a local Chinese person would say it,
I never said that. I'm
I
just
know, but
saying
it just came off a little bit like you were
Like
doing
what?
a caricature, perhaps.
And you think I would go there in this podcast?
I think you might. I think
We
you have
discussed,
before.
in
I think you will
addition,
again.
in addition, when Brooks came down here to discussing the limits of whether Brian is approached in this podcast, we discussed the limits of the characterization we were going to do.
That was my receipt from P.F. Chang's that he signed.
And we decided we're not crossing that boundary. How's the beer going down? We haven't even talked about the flavor of the beer. Brooks, what's your perception of Tsingtao?
For me, it's going down smooth. It always goes down smooth. I'm curious what you guys think about it because I think that it's a beer that I've always had, but rarely have on its own.
Mm.
You know, this is
with food.
Yeah, this is a food pairing type of a beer. I don't know if it stands up as a go-to type of.
Yeah, it's not
going
great
to the
on its own.
Yeah, I was going to say
confirm.
so. A couple of things might be happening. So this is, as we mentioned, it's imported to the U.S. Actually, imported by. What did you fucking say
Jacob
earlier?
Best Brewing.
Jacob Best Brewing. Astute listeners will know Jacob Best is the founder of Pabst Blue Ribbon. So they also have their little greasy hands in all this. But anyway,
if we went on the history of where most of these companies got founded, somebody had to sleep with some other guy's wife and like take over the company.
We've seen that a couple of times.
Yeah,
Blatz did it. I think that was part of PBR's history too. But anyway, because it's imported, you said this does taste different than when you had it in China, right?
First of all, it's hard to judge because almost all the time when you get this beer in China, it's not cold.
Oh, okay.
And it also comes in like the jumbo bottles.
Right.
And so like it's even less cold by the time that you're actually finishing.
Well, if they're serving at room temperature, then there's no downside. You might as well have the biggest bottles in the world. This is the only downside here is if to get like a giant, like if you go to the Yard House and you get a 3-foot thing, the downside is that bulb is boiling hot. It boils by the end of it. But in China, if they're serving it that way, no downside. So those two combinations make the flavor profile different?
I think so. And then normally when you're having this beer, you're usually drinking it with pretty oily, greasy, extremely flavorful, either sweet, sour, spicy Chinese food. And I think that the kind of... Man, I don't know what the best way to say it, but kind of the like subtleness of the beer, or like the kind of, it doesn't have, obviously there's no hop flavor that's punching you in the mouth.
Not at all.
There's not even like a really forward malt flavor. You get the kind of like,
you mentioned
the kind of skunkiness that you get with like a Heineken or like some other kind of like lagers and pilsners like that. And this one definitely has that kind of like the, It definitely doesn't have corn in it, but maybe it has that kind of like
you mentioned
cooked corn.
Didn't you
it has
mention
rice?
There was rice in the brewing process,
Yeah, so for sure, this beer was originally when the Germans made it, when they were colonizing China, they were using like Reinheitsgebot. So that means, you only have the 4 ingredients for the beer.
That's right.
The German purity law. But, as things changed hands over the years, it's trying to...
This claims
profits.
This claims it's crafted using malted barley, hops, yeast, and pure mountain water.
Oh yeah, but they're forgetting to put the rice on there
that they cut it with to save cost. Well, I think one thing you touched on, you mentioned it's skunky like Heineken and stuff.
Yeah,
you've brought this up, Nick, a few times. Those green bottles.
Yes, sir.
Why are we still doing this with our imports and exports?
No,
because it tastes like a green bottled beer.
Maybe it looks cooler. It does taste like a green bottled beer.
Like
does
skunky.
This taste like? Yeah. Does it taste like not fresh compared to what you've had when you were over there?
No, I think this tastes like the average freshness.
Okay.
I don't think that the distributors for Tsingtao are as stringent as like any of like the craft. Like I could imagine that this like sits around for a while in some warehouses. Like I don't think. I mean, when you go to a Chinese restaurant, how many options do you usually have for beer? Like, you're buying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never been to China, but I've been to Japan, and they're much more of a known as a beer drinking place, and your beer options are prevalent. But if you go to like Japanese restaurants here, they don't have a ton of Japanese beers. They have Asahi and they have Sapporo, and that's it. Sorry, I cut you off, Nick.
No, it's all right. Just we're going to transition. You had a nice setup for it, and then we kept talking.
Right.
But pairing it, we have a Parable or Terrible.
Parable or Terrible in the
I got
house.
Something spicy to pair with this beer. They're the
a Chinese delicacy is what you have.
Yeah, Chinese delicacy. Simply Cheetos Puffs, white jalapeno or white cheddar and jalapeno.
The Chinese jalapeno dish.
But it's
so what makes
spicy.
these Simply? Why is this Simply Cheetos Puffs?
Well, Joe, I'll tell you. At Simply, our snacks are made with ingredients you can feel good about and come from the brands you love. We call this pure deliciousness.
We got a picture.
We got a pic.
Okay.
And it says, while the spicy kick does the zesty tango on your tongue, the smoothness of real cheese, all caps, will melt in your mouth.
Okay. So this is some whole grain Cheetos. Is that what we're trying?
Yeah, baby. Organic cornmeal.
Being led to believe.
Expeller pressed sunflower oil. Cheddar cheese made from milk, cheese culture, salt, and enzymes. Maltodextrin, skim milk, sea salt.
Oh, maltodextrin, the whole grain that we all love.
Made from corn.
So what we're saying is we're taking, Brooks was saying this thing is better with food, but is also cut up with a bunch of bullshit. You're trying to take what normally is cut up with a bunch of bullshit, Cheetos, and reduce it to the simple, it's like thousands of years ago when we walked this earth, 2018 to be exact. But
That's not even what they. Okay.
long
keep going.
ago, what is it? 3,000 years? It's 3,000 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Long ago, when we
4,000.
walked this earth, we just picked stuff up off the ground, potato or whatever, and you'd eat it. And you'd pick up these Cheetos puffs. You could find them at that time too. That's how simple this is. All right. Well, I'm gonna take some, and also we're gonna see if the Tsingtao beers,
I don't want another.
the second one goes down better than the
Don't
first
pop
one.
that one.
I'm popping it for you.
Thanks, Joe.
Here you go, buddy. All right. We'll eat.
All right. Yeah. So these there's nothing wrong with these as a food product. You know, Joe.
These are very good.
Okay.
I'm serious. I thought they were gonna be really stale, like
No.
other Cheeto puffs that I've had before. Because sometimes these Cheeto puffs get big, and that melt in your mouth quality, it's like too much. It just kind of like dissolves, like almost like Pop Rocks in your mouth. But these actually have some firmness to them, and holy shit, do they have an aftertaste? Good lord!
Why are they so much smaller than the regular Cheeto Puff? Is that the Simply part?
It must
I
be
don't
the
know.
Simply,
Yeah.
skinnier?
There is something there. Maybe they fry it differently or something.
or maybe there's some sort of like chemical agent in the regular ones that make
Yeah.
them big. I'm serious. Like there probably is
there
something
could
that
be.
puffs them way out, whereas this is because it's real ingredients. It kind of looks like a shriveled little pee-pee. Like they have like ridges in them, and they don't have any like.
Like all shriveled little peepees do. They have
No,
ridges in them.
all I'm saying is, well, depending on your level of what circumcision, all I'm saying is like when you put a bunch of chemical agents in, you can create a shape, a very consistent shape. And I think if you do something like this, you can't. These are not that very appealing to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I guess neither are regular Cheetos.
Well, puffs though.
Puffs-
Puffs are more uniform. Yeah. They're like precise little turds.
Are puffs? Have they been around for a long time? I feel like I've
A
never
while.
really had puffs.
Yeah, a
When
while.
I was a kid, there was definitely Puffs.
Really?
So that's what, 40, 50?
Yeah, 45 years ago, maybe.
No, I think, yeah, puffs have been around for a while. They're good too. I like them.
Yeah,
I like the melt in your mouth in a certain context.
over regular Cheetos.
No, not over regular Cheetos.
I think I agree with you on that. Do you like Flamin' Hots over regular Cheetos?
No.
Okay.
Unpopular
I
opinion.
disagree with you on
but
that. Yeah, Flamin' Hots almost are just like they're like the Miller High Life to Cheetos is MGD.
they're way too mainstream, though.
Well, then what do you think about this spice compared to a Flaming Hot?
I like it. It's like subtle
Yeah, and it's aftertaste. That's
Yeah.
a good spice when it's aftertaste rather than right there.
because it says it's made with jalapeno powder. So
Definitely get
natural in
that.
some way. But yeah, and you get it. You get the spice.
It goes fucking perfectly with a beer. It's a really good beer companion.
Huh.
This beer in particular, yeah, it goes well with it. The skunk goes away when you have that spice on your tongue.
I mean, I think this beer is really made for just washing down flavorful
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
It's
I
a,
like
it's a
spice
thirst
you brought
quencher
up.
that has some booze in it.
Yeah.
It's- I
gotta
think
have
that
more.
a lot of Chinese meals as well, like, and I have a little, probably too much experience with this. You're not only drinking the Tsingtao, they've got the Baijiu going around. And I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's like the Chinese liquor, which is like a rocket fuel. And
Right.
Jesus.
I mean, it burns. And the decisions that are made after putting down a bottle of that with a couple of Tsingtaos are bad.
Not good.
I've got a bad record with that. So
You've been arrested in China?
I've never been arrested in China. I've had some close calls.
Okay.
I've drank the Baijiu and Tsingtao like on multiple continents. I had a pretty weird situation that happened to me in South Korea after a pretty big night of Tsingtaos and Baijiu. I don't know if it's a good one to share on the podcast.
Well,
We
you
can leave it out.
can't tease us
No,
like
we
this.
can leave it out if you're.
You want us
if
to
the
edit it
lawyers-
out?
What are
Yeah,
your
maybe-
lawyers
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
What are
maybe-
your lawyers saying?
I just checked with my lawyer. He says it's cool.
Okay,
All
go
right,
for it.
roll with it.
There's a fantastic Chinese dish like in Sichuan, China that's like the lamb skewers and do them on a grill. I had some friends visit from college when I lived in South Korea in Seoul. We go to this Chinese restaurant. We do the lamb skewers. We're lining up shots of the Baijiu, which just translates to like white liquor, but it's it's evil. We're probably
So it's like UV blue.
we're putting
White.
down we're putting down the big boys of Tsingtao. We're pretending like we're still in college. And like
Right.
these are the type of college friends that like where you think that you have to just one up each other over and over
Sure.
and over. And so these guys had probably had the one up on me the last time when we were in college,
Sure.
but now we're on my turf, right?
Now you're
And
rocket
now
fuel.
I've
And they're
had
jet-lagged as
now
hell.
I've had 6 Tsingtaos and a couple of these baijiu shots, and
Right.
we go to a bar, and we're kind of owning this bar. We got 4 guys there. I go into the bathroom and I'm looking. I finish up. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm gone. I'm out of my mind. And I think to myself, well, what's the funniest thing that I could do in this situation? The answer was, I'm just going to take off all of my clothes and stash them behind the toilet and walk out into this bar completely nude.
Oh wow.
So I proceed to do it, walk directly up to the bar, and start ordering drinks.
Right.
It didn't play well in the bar.
I would imagine. Yeah.
They had a
Didn't last long.
They
if
had
you
a
will.
large guy there that his job was to kick people like
Yeah,
me out.
yeah.
He luckily let me get my clothes. There was some pictures taken. I think they exist on somebody's hard drive somewhere, but it was a regretful decision, but very fueled by
By the
Did
jet
you-
fuel.
Do you remember the whole thing? Like in your
I
mind,
do,
you do.
I do.
Damn.
Unfortunately,
And you,
How long did you live in South Korea, by the way?
4 years.
Wow, that's cool.
what were you doing there?
I originally just went there to teach English for a year in 2008. While I was there, the kind of the financial system of the entire world decided to
right.
kind of collapse, and
Right.
I was having a great time, and I decided, well, maybe I'll just continue to stay in South Korea. I just signed up for another teaching contract for another year. Then some friends and I decided to start putting some of our business minds to work, and we started an event company. Basically threw parties a couple times per month. I got on with a couple of
All
other
nude parties?
company was called Soju Lab. It was an extremely successful company, one of the best in South Korea.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, I ended up staying there for quite a long time. A lot of misadventures with Asian beers and
Yeah.
Asian liquors and all sorts of craziness.
And now you bring your secrets to this podcast.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, it sounds awesome. I mean, that's the
That's
life.
great.
I was talking
By
at
the way,
top of
Parable.
the show.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was talking about my parents cruising around the country in
Yeah.
retirement. I don't think my dad's going to take off all his clothes, stash behind the toilet. But yeah, it's such a romantic thing to do, to just say, fuck it, I'm dropping it, I'm going. I'm going to go this thing that certainly carries risk with it, I don't know if I'm going to like. Did you know you liked South Korea before you?
No, I had done so my degree was international business, and as a part of that, I had to go abroad for a semester. And so 2 semesters before I graduated, I kind of just randomly picked Prague, Czech Republic,
Mm-hmm.
and I went and I lived there for 6 months. As I had come back and I came back and finished school, I wanted to go abroad again, but I also wanted to just go for an adventure to some kind of place that I didn't know very well. And so
Sure.
Seoul was a great spot to,
Sure.
but I didn't really know much about it.
That's awesome. And so you went there, you said you planned on a year or something, and then you just fell in love with it?
Yeah, I stayed 4 years.
Hell yeah. Nice. Well, that's cool. So I guess coming back to the parable or terrible, you got used to drinking Tsingtao in a food pairing setting. How does this pairing go? These little penis Cheetos and this beer.
I think it's decent. I mean, because these have a little spice, a little bit of flavor.
Yeah, they do.
Um,
The last time you were on the show, you had also these little shriveled up penises. Now that I think about it, you had these breakfast sausages. Yeah.
The Jack.
Those
Jack
were
Links.
you guys called them parable, and I hope that you've seen the error of your ways, because
No.
those were terrible.
No, I've seen the pair of my ways, and I still think that they're very parable.
Well, this one I think is as parable as it gets. This I think might be my favorite pairing that we've done on the show. This is fantastic.
It somehow even the bag matches the
Mhm.
beers.
That's a nice green there.
Yeah, all green. Although, yeah, Nick and I have our vocal disagreements with green bottles, but yeah, it's a nice visual pairing.
What about the Green Miles? I think they're bad.
Yeah. I guess I'm saying we're on this united
Oh,
front.
we disagree.
That we
with
disagree with the idea of
the
green
concept
bottoms,
of green.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Nick, what do you think?
I think it's very parable. Yes.
It's parable.
By the way, what do you think about this? Little PP Cheetos, Chodos. Yes? No? Is that
Well, these
parable?
are not in the shape of a chodo.
I know, but like just the general idea.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Okay, thank you.
You were coming up with that the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you were in the corner? Nick
yeah,
got up,
the
took
whole
his
time.
headphones off, and rocked himself, holding his knees in the corner.
I had my forehead in my hands.
Lit up a cigarette, came back and went, I got it.
Left a pile of crumpled papers in the corner and then came back.
I think it was very good. You did very good.
Thank you, Joy.
You're a good boy. Okay, well, I'm on my second Tsingtao, and I got to say, I knew this was going to happen. The first one's skunky. The second one, and Brooks's advice of pairing it with food, and then just it being the second beer, much, much better. I think you're right. I think this is meant to
food,
it's meant to wash over delicious Chinese flavors or just, spice, whatever. Not meant to just... It has no sipability at all. It maybe is almost the worst sipability that we have, but it's pure sessionability.
Yeah.
Pure sessionability, but I'll hope that Nick would agree with me. I've heard this song and dance before from you. I remember it was the Tecate episode.
Yeah. Here we go. We're
He
back
gets
on
a
it.
couple deep in
Yep.
a couple of beers, and he's romanticizing the beer with me.
I am
Yeah.
going to
Are
look
we
back
gonna
on
Are
this.
we gonna hold him to? Is Cold Can Nation's gonna hold Joe
I think we do.
to his opinions that he states on the show? Because
Speak truth to power, man. Speak
Yeah.
truth to power.
If anybody wants to go back and actually call me out, God bless you, because no, I do think I'm going to look back on this beer, and right now, in this moment, I'm in the groove, baby. This is, I could drink a couple too many of these. In fact, I'm in the middle of drinking a couple too many of them. I do think I'll look back and remember that first one I had, and it wasn't very good in isolation, I gotta say. It's probably because it's imported, but it was a little skunky, too skunky.
And I think everything we said, or everything Brooks said, really, it's just made to be consumed with food.
Pure
I hated the first
sessionability.
one. I hated the first one. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Terrible. How's the second one that you also... Don't open it, Joey. Don't do it. How is
I'm a
it?
nerd. I'm not trying to drink 2 beers after 8 p.m., okay? It's a new rule.
You only drink...
New rule.
You only drink more
Two
than one
beers
beer
before 8 p.m.
Yeah.
On weeknights. On weeknights.
I can't drink this late. I only drink beers before 2 p.m.
My podiatrist said it's very important.
Well,
Or no, I was trying to go for like I'm a kid, so pediatric specialist. My pediatric specialist said it's very important.
We'll edit that together so you sound like the wittiest guy.
Okay, here we go. My pediatric specialist said it's very important that I only have 2.
That's good. You're a good boy. By the way, speaking of a little while back there, we talked about having a couple too many. Mr. Couple Too Many Casey, he was. I was with him when I was back home. We were doing our auction. All right, he had his Cold Cans shirt on. He was representing.
Hell yeah.
He specifically called you out and blamed you for cutting him out of the Cold Cans operation. Now, astute listeners will know he
The
was our
whole
boots on the ground.
operation?
Yeah, the whole operation. Astute listeners will know he was our boots on the ground. He was out there. He was going to Blatz Fest, which came and went recently, and we missed it. We missed round 2.
I think our boots on the ground didn't report back on that was happening.
So the first thing I told him is I said, you gave up on us because we wanted him to drink a Mickey's in a parking lot of
That's
a gas
right.
station.
That's right.
And then report on his experience.
He
And
failed
we were gonna go with that, and then he never did it. And that's when he thought that you changed the Snapchat password out from under him and then acted like you didn't remember what it is.
Change it.
What is it? Say the password on air. What is the Snapchat password?
I have it on autofill on my phone, so I
so
don't,
you don't
know what
remember.
it is.
That's a problem, though.
It is. It's a bigger problem overall, so we can stop talking about that I changed it. We can get into the bigger problem of not remembering passwords.
Just
I don't
the
think that's a
Brian
topic.
Escovade.
Yeah,
we
I
can
don't
just
think that's
stop
a
about it.
topic.
We go on. All right. He claims
I know
that you
guys
cut him
were
out of this
messaging me.
operation.
You messaged me that night. I said I don't know what it is. I'm sorry. I think he figured it out though, because I logged in today
Someone was in there.
and someone had been fishing around in there.
Were they taking any snaps? Did you see any little shriveled up peepees?
Oh, I didn't look at that actually. I only saw that they had watched because our Seattle group, like Seattle Snapchat group, the Cold Can Snapchat is a part of that. And so every
Okay.
Snapchat we send to that gets posted, and it was only stuff from the most recent day.
Oh, so they went and watched. Well, isn't Snapchat by its nature only a day? Doesn't it go away after a day?
Not direct messages.
Oh, okay. I don't know anything about
Those will
Snapchat.
last forever.
Isn't there a third party social media person here that could be the one that's really throwing all the wrenches? Somebody's wife.
There were two third party. So here's one thing that must be noted. My wife, Devin, she only controls Instagram. She only controls the
That's what I
Instagram
thought,
portion.
okay.
Snapchat, only one other person besides Casey had the password. And let's just say, rest in porcelain, because he's gone. And we haven't heard from him. So let's just say I highly doubt Brian's been logging into this Nicola Can Snapchat.
No, Casey, let
I'm
us
eating
know
another
if
one
you
of these.
haven't logged in. I'll change the password for Christ's sake.
Casey, tweet at us at Cold Cans Podcast, or text us, or
Yeah.
call us. Call
Yeah.
us. We haven't heard from you, buddy. Well, I did, but Nick hasn't. But speaking of tweeting at us, we got a mailbag this week, ladies and gentlemen. We're opening up the mailbag.
Open.
All right. Spencer, who has also been on the show, our good friend Spencer, told us about the Dale's Pale Ale episode. So Spencer claims that throughout college, he and our other roommate, Andrew, absolutely loved it. And that none of us had the palate for it. We weren't sophisticated enough to understand the intricacies and the delicacies of Dale's Pale Ale. And he wanted that to be publicly known. And what I'll say is that they didn't have the palate for it, neither Spencer nor Andrew. They just wanted to believe, yes, that they did. And I'll say one more thing. Dale's sucks. Looking back, it sucked. I said it on the show, Brooks. It sucked. You like Dale's
You're
Pale
on
Ale?
the record.
A
You're
lot of
on the
nodding there. You think it sucks? Have you had it?
I've had it, but I haven't had it for a while. I actually was going to pick some up after your last episode.
Oh,
but
nice. Well, don't. It's bad.
You are on the record for that, so I'm going to hold you.
That one's bad.
I don't think I want to get it now.
All right, good.
No. Don't. I'll say it with a mouthful of Cheetos. Don't listen to Bombastic Joe. It's a fine beer, okay? It's a fine beer.
Well, look, I'm not just. Sometimes I polish a stone a little bit for the podcast. I let everybody know something that I maybe don't truly believe. I'm just trying to get your goat a little bit, right? But I stand firm. Dale sucks. Like, it's not good. It's bad. It should have been in deplorables. It's that bad. It's an atrocious beer. It's the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth.
It's been around for a long time, though.
He brewed it in a bucket in Auburn
but
or
many
whatever.
of those early craft beers, they just don't hold up.
That's a good point. And they don't expand to like a big national brand like Dale's did.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think maybe that's what happened with Dale's. I bet if you had a Dale's,
If you had a Dale's in 2000, I don't know what, 2005 or something.
Yeah, right.
It was probably pretty damn
pretty good. And if you
Mm-hmm.
had it, you probably had it locally then, so they weren't having like import-export issues like we just talked about here, where something's sitting on a factory floor getting heated and then cooled, and then you have it. So I think it's just the manner of mass market beer, which is why I bring up when I can appreciate when a mass market beer actually tastes good. Like those people have their supply chain down, to make it consistent and to make it such that you open it, it's always going to taste the same. And even if it's not wonderful, it's consistency is good. And
Sure,
again,
saying Dale's has some supply chain issues.
I think it might. I think they need to give me a call. That's all I gotta say. No, I think maybe even like you mentioned, maybe Tsingtao isn't particularly consistent with how they import and export. I don't know.
All
but-
right, let me read a Beer Advocate review.
Let's get
here.
to the B. Let's get to the BA.
BA.
review.
Uh,
I can't keep my hands off these little peepees.
this comes from user at Little PP Beer Boy. A little.
That's my account on Beer Advocate.
This does honestly sound like one that a character that you sometimes do on the show would write. Not like Jesse or any of the main ones, but just like the guy.
Yeah.
A little skunky, light, some barley notes on the back end. Definitely not as impressive as what Japan has done with some of their rice lagers, which remain to be some of my go-to beers to this day. I don't think I need to mention any specific beer names because everyone in this beer community should know which ones I am talking about, especially one that is mass-produced here in the USA. Oh, well, enough jibber-jabber. Cheers. Gives it a C. And then he has his own grading scale. He says C, 75 to 79 score range.
Enough. I love the enough jibber jabber. Sometimes it feels like Beer Advocate opened a hotline and people are leaving voicemails.
Yeah.
And then they just transcribe them to these reviews. What are you talking? Erase the last line.
I know.
Or if you think it's jibber jabber, go edit yourself.
Mm-hmm. Show us, don't tell us.
Oh well, enough of this shit. Don't hit send then.
Also, overall, this has a 2.76 out of 5, or poor.
Mm-hmm.
And as in, don't pour me another.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No. Yeah. Nobody gave you a you're welcome. I think it's skunky. I think that's a big problem.
Yes.
I think for Beer Advocate, these guys are always going to... I mean, this is one of the most mass-produced beers in the entire world. I mean, in China, there's still a couple that are, I think, even like more consumed. I think there's like Snow and Yanjing, but like in terms of like exports from China, this is the number one. But like, I mean, there's so much of this beer being made. And it seems like the Beer Advocate people are always having a problem with these
for sure.
super mass-produced beers.
And I don't think they're willing to look at it as something that's meant to be consumed with food. They would just be like, I'm going to analyze this, like every little bit of it. And so they'll hammer it pretty hard because of that.
Right.
Because it's not good that way.
Right. And that's actually the purpose and intent of Beer Advocate.
Right.
If you were to have
What's
this
the
in
beer?
isolation,
Yes.
what is it? Yeah. So it should be bad, but maybe we shouldn't base this, the Beer Advocate review in any way on our own rankings.
This rating system is one of the most scientific that I've ever seen.
The cold cans method?
If people go back and listen to the first episode, the first word spoken, we talked about mouthfeel. We were going to put a bunch of factors into it, and I got to say, we do it every single time. We stick to it. We adhere to it. You talked about the German
It's our
purity.
Bible. It's our Bible.
You talked about the German purity laws. We have the cold cans purity laws here, and we stick to it.
CCP.
Yeah, we have the CCPs.
Okay, should we, we're ready for rankings.
Let's
right?
rank this sorry son of a bitch. All right.
Oh, boy.
We got tiers, and if you go to coldcatspodcast.com/rankings, you can see the tiers for yourself, my dear boy. Beer tier, the cream of the crop. It's not going to be there. That goes all the way down from 1 through 8, Elysian Night Owl Pumpkin Ale. Then we have wild cards. It's not going to be there. That's number 9, Red Hook ESB, all the way down to number 24, Ugly Pug. Mild cards. It could show up here, but I highly doubt it. That's Uinta Baba Black Lager, all the way down to number 37, Iyengar Brow Ice. And then we have the deplorables. It possibly could be here. That's number 38, Bud Light Lime, all the way down to 52, Olympia. And then we have the Russian Radioactives. That's Palisades Pineapple to Sparks. Brooks, unlike what Zach Patry adamantly, apparently unilaterally instituted as law on this show, I think you have a say in these rankings.
He doesn't prefer it, and he practiced what he preached, and he didn't do it.
He didn't. Yes, he can preach. Preach, Zach. Preach. I thank you for being on the show as well. I think you guys, that episode really was great. I gave you a little gaff at the top, but it was good. Brooks, what do you have it? Looking at those tiers, looking at these rankings.
This is a beer that I have a lot of history with, and I really like it in terms of what it is, but I don't think that it doesn't hold up versus some of these other beers. Definitely as a standalone, and so it's kind of hard for me to. I don't want to call it a deplorable, though. I think that it's
got written all over.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm saying.
You're scrolling up too far. Brooks is scrolling through the rankings.
No, I'm at the wrong space. I'm saying 37 right after Heineken.
Okay.
But I haven't had Iyengar Brow Ice. But you have 38 Bud Light Lime. Come on. I mean,
hey, Bud Light Lime's good. And
then what was your Guinness draft at 39? You guys had some like, what would you have, like broken bottle? What was the thing you didn't have, the thing with the
widget?
Yeah.
No,
or did you
Nick-
have
We
the
didn't have a
ripped-
cup to.
We did have a
You
cup
didn't
to
have the
pour.
cup
To pour it in.
So we were
yeah,
drinking,
which
and
is
then eventually
essential.
Nick ripped the can apart with his bare hands,
I
like the
did.
man he is, and pulled the widget right out.
And it's a ping pong
It's
ball.
safe to say the deplorables just turns into like all the times that you guys just got too drunk on this show and you have
Yeah.
no idea.
Well, it's mass market shit.
Yeah, it's
Um,
mostly mass market stuff.
and by the
which
way, I
this
just-
would fall into.
This is mass market. You have to agree with that.
It is mass. That's why I said it's got it written all over
Mhm.
it. And I just wanted to say, when you pulled the widget out, I got to say, Nick likes pulling on his little widget. All right,
Okay.
deplorables. I think
With
it fits
my bare
in. I
hands,
disagree.
especially.
Yeah, with your bare hands. I disagree with your ranking at 37. So you had it just below Heineken, just above Eyinger Brau Ice.
It has a very similar profile to Heineken.
It does. Heineken probably belongs.
Maybe a little.
Down further-
Heineken's more
further.
crisper.
Yeah, maybe in the 2019 great re-ranks, Heineken will fall back down. I think it's in deplorables range.
boy.
Nick, what do you think?
I think it's in deplorables range as well. I don't, because putting in context of having it, I mean, if we had the history with it that Brooks over here has, maybe it would be up a little bit further.
Yeah.
But this has got to be down around like, I don't even Molson Canadian or
I was
Milwaukee's
just
Best
looking
Premium.
there. And that sucks. And Brooks
Schlitz under Schlitz.
Schlitz is good beer.
Schlitz is good beer. Joseph
Watch
Schlitz Brewing
yourself.
Company.
That's your-
Watch yourself.
I'm with you on that, Nick. I think that it's right down there. I like that slot between Schlitz and Molson. That puts it at 50. So we're 20 spots off from our guest.
Wow.
Oh, wow. He had it at 30.
No, 37, right?
I
or
had it
something?
at 37.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
37. Sorry.
37.
Let's look at some. Okay, we have
So-
Bud Light Lime, Guinness Draft Stout, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Rolling Rock, MGD,
Mm-hmm.
Scheffenhefeweizen,
grapefruit beer,
Mhm.
Coors Light, Miller Light,
Michelob Ultra, Miller
Miller
64. It starts to fall
64.
apart a little in there.
Budweiser,
And
Schlitz.
So you're putting it behind America. The only thing is he read that, I could see myself putting this behind Coors Light and above Miller Light at 45. But I would be willing to put it down at 50.
I just think I've never had a Miller Lite that's that skunky on its own.
It was skunky.
And I don't really like to drink beer while I'm eating either because it fills me up too fast. So for that, it's like that doesn't push it up that far in my mind. Though I do
Right.
agree it was good for that.
And maybe
In
if
a
we had
snacking scenario.
the
like the
experiences.
skunk.
You like the
I'm
skunk.
a skunk boy.
Wow.
He's the big skunk
the big
boy.
skunk boy. BSB.
The BSB, Brooks Maddock. I actually could see that. Like I could see like eventually kind of coming around to like I really need a beer taste, and instead of hoppiness, instead of maltiness, I want that just like that shitty fucking skunk. And it probably
I think we've said the same thing about
but I
Miller
meant that in a
Lite,
good
though.
yeah.
that it tastes like a beer.
No, yeah, but Miller Lite tastes like a beer, but it doesn't have the skunk. Miller Lite
No,
has
it's not
the sweet-
skunky.
Miller Lite has
Yeah.
that like sweetness, which most
Yeah.
of the American. And then when you go to the Euros and the Asians, I think you get this like a little bit of this like more of the
It's
skunkiness.
true.
And it's either like the yeast or the malt or the rice or I don't know which
Yeah.
characteristic it
It's
is.
unique.
But yeah, like
You brought up Heineken. Same thing. That kind of skunky taste. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess it just is a matter of like I'm a little bit more cultured.
Cultured.
than
Yeah,
you
I knew he
guys.
was going there. I fucking knew he was going with it. But
Skunk
I don't
boy.
think
I mean,
that
it's
I didn't taste that any of the Japanese beers I had. I loved Japanese
And the
beers.
Japanese ones are interesting because I think that maybe they could taste similar. They always are serving them so damn cold.
That could
that-
be a big
that
thing.
could-
Maybe
that could
this is
help.
meant to be served warm. But they're served cold
they're
here.
serving
You
them
you
cold,
buy them
yeah.
in a grocery store and they're cold.
Yeah.
I think if we had the experiences that he had, if we were eating like
It's a big if.
seasoning and spiciness, we'd potentially be there. But as you know, we adhere to a strict scientific standard, and in
That's
our
too big of an
level of
if.
culture,
Yes.
well, that goes into it. So what do you say? 50 behind Schlitz, above Molson Canadian?
I say 50. We do a power move. We put Brooks back in his place under the Zach
Put him on
Patry,
blast.
the Zach Patry Amendment of 2018, in which the guest's opinion matters not.
Well, here's the only thing is, the guest certainly should voice his
I
opinion.
know.
His or her. And we learned our lesson with Palisades Pineapple when that opinion went way too high. And I think here this may be a beer we come back to and we say, We ranked that too low.
Mm-hmm.
Beer wasn't that bad. Brooks got it for us. He's a good guy.
How about this? I will agree with you on a low ranking today if I can be involved in the re-ranking.
The great re-rank.
2019. Okay.
I think that
I
Sign
think
this receipt.
I think once
Pizza
you
Hut
guys
receipt.
develop a better perspective, a world perspective, maybe you Delta boys get out there, get your platinum medallion or something. You know,
I'm an
Go
American
see the
Airlines
world.
boy. That means I'm domestic flights only.
I think one of the flight attendants for Delta can coax you out there. He's such a good boy. Why don't we get him all the way out to the Tsingtao?
comped. He's a very good boy. I'm going to get him a hot towel and some orange slices for my good boy here.
For my very good boy. Well, if she knew it was what was correct, she would get you pure deliciousness Simply Cheetos Puffs, white cheddar
The
jalapeno
day Delta
Cheetos.
offers those in their snack pack, that's the day I become a big Delta boy. So.
Instead
then,
of the BAB, you're the
BAB.
BDB. And thank you to the BSB, the big skunk boy, for coming out. Brooks, as always, it was a genuine pleasure. Thank you for being back. And please
Thank you,
come back
sir.
to Seattle more. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. The Cold Cans podcast is recorded in the Overcast Room at Cloud Studios in Seattle, Washington. Visit cloudstudiosseattle.com